probably the most iconic thing it goes into that everybody will know because they'll have sat on it, is the upholstery on the London Underground. Yeah. So that is all made in Yorkshire from British wool.
One of the things with British wool is that it's great from a marketing perspective because there's so many different touch points, but also people kind of struggle to get their head around the concept of British wool and who you are, because it's quite there's quite a lot of moving parts.
It's complex. It's quite a complex organisation. It's not what you call a normal organisation.
Yeah.
So they made a whole Aladdin's cave set, and I had to dress up as Aladdin all day.
We've all been there.
Have you still got the image? Or?
I haven't actually.
No.
It went in one of the consumer glossies.
It'll be somewhere.
I don't ever want to see it ever again.
To see that.
Welcome to Embracing Marketing Mistakes, the podcast that asks marketers to reveal their deepest, darkest secrets and how it made them the professionals that they are today. I'm Chris Norton, and I'm joined today by one of our clients, Graham Clark, Director of Marketing at British Wool. The British Wool brief has been a challenging but brilliant one, and we talk all about marketing a legacy brand and the different tactics that we've deployed to bring the message to the masses, including a campaign with Love Island's Farmer Will. We're taking things from pop culture to agriculture today, so sit back, relax and enjoy, and let's hear all about how you market wool to the UK. Hopefully it won't be woolly. Enjoy. Graham Clark, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So Graham, for those that haven't met you, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started out in marketing?
So I guess it was by mistake, really. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think all I knew I wanted to do when I was younger is to wear a suit to go to work, which it's quite ironic. It's quite ironic. I can't remember last time I wore a suit, and I hate wearing a tie. So
we all wore them back then. Though.
We did back in the day, and so that was always my sort of ambition, I guess you could say. So I went to university to do a general business degree because I didn't really know what I wanted to focus on, and marketing pricked my attention while I was doing it. It was sort of did everything like law, accountancy, and the marketing part really did stand out as something I was quite interested in. So I specialised in that in the final year in the course. And obviously marketing back then was very different to marketing nowadays in terms of I didn't have a laptop, there was no internet, and it was very, very different to sort of books, libraries, old-fashioned stuff. Actually reading stuff instead of... there's no AI to write a dissertation. You have to do it yourself. And so, it was a different world. It's not that long. Well, it is quite a long time ago, actually. But it's like 25, 30 years. Well, 30 years ago. And 30 years, so much happened, hasn't it, in 30 years with technology and everything to do with that. But not always for the better as well.
Because we're similar ages. And I started out in the dot-com boom. Mm-hmm. My first year's job was in the dot-com boom, and they hired 100. I worked at a tech agency, and they hired 100 and something staff execs. I was one of like 30 in this, like a cohort, and literally within 18 months there was the dot-com crash.
Yeah, great timing.
So a load of them left quite swiftly. I kept on. So I remember the era of like the BBC's website being launched and because September the 11th, I remember. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember watching that live on. It was very slow, but on the internet,
that story broke on. The reason why I remember it is because we were in London and it broke on the BBC's website when the website was pretty new, and it was like it had like a ticker tape. It sort of the start of the ticker tape, and it said there'd been like an accident. A plane had crashed, and then it was like loads of rumours, like a weather plane, all pre. That was the internet was coming out.
Totally, and you never had it at home. I didn't have the internet at home for years. So even after that, it was sort of. It's quite nice actually because you could get away from work because you didn't have access to emails on your phone. So it wasn't sort of 24/7 like it is nowadays. So that's sort of one of the negative things, I guess you could say, but that's the world we live in nowadays.
So you got a marketing degree. You're like a person working in marketing with a marketing degree, which is quite a thing because there's not many of them.
No, I guess not. No, it's and then when I'd finished that, I did a diploma while I was working because I was also keen to
CIM.
Yeah, CIM. That was a lot better than my degree, I'll be honest. I think it was a lot more practical and it was harder as well, to be honest. But I guess it's because you're working at the same time as you're doing qualification. It's never easy, is it? And then I topped that up to a master's a couple of years later because it's just something I always wanted to do just as a sort of from a personal achievement kind of perspective. But again, none of it was digital marketing. I've got a degree, a postgraduate diploma, and a master's in marketing, and never once did we touch on digital marketing. Because
have you done any training in regards to digital marketing since?
One or two bits, but a lot of it's just sort of picking it up on a job and sort of working with agencies like yourselves, and you do pick it up. I think for me, it's no different to any other channel for marketing. It's just a different channel, isn't it? It's the same kind of scenario as traditional advertising, traditional PR. It's just a different channel with a bit more specialisation. That's how I always look at it anyway. It's
So what were your first couple of jobs in? Because you worked in furniture, right?
Yeah. So first job was a big a big kitchen manufacturer, and we used to supply into the private sector, so big house builders, the public sector, so social housing, and also the retail market as well. So it was quite a broad customer base. B2B, yeah, right. Yeah. So it was quite interesting. It was like, again, working in those days were very different to working in now. It's some of the things some stories you got from that, you would never get away with it nowadays. Some of the people we worked for. But it was good fun, and it sort of helps build your character. And I worked in 3 different jobs while I was there on different aspects, different markets we were selling into. So it was really good, broad experience, and worked with some really good people, some really knowledgeable people, and still got friends who I worked with in the first job, because it's quite different when you start working to sort of, when I guess you're the boss, it's a bit different, isn't it?
And so how long were you there?
I think it's about 6-7 years. So it was really good grounding, all aspects of marketing. And then I moved on to another role, which was sinks and taps. So again, a similar kind of field.
How have they gone from furniture, sinks and taps, to what?
Kitchens? Well, yeah, exactly. It's a massive segue. So yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and then moved on to a joint. What
was big marketing in the sinks and taps world then?
A lot of it was working with sort of the national retailers and looking at their strategy and getting products into them. It was like a lot of my jobs in the marketing have been sort of a sales and marketing kind of role. So I've got quite a lot of experience on that sales side, and account management, I guess you could call it, more than sales. So it was working with some of the bigger retailers and looking at how they were positioning the product, point of sale, that kind of thing, and making sure they had the right products for market for the consumer as well. So it was interesting. It was quite an interesting time. But that lasted 2 years, and then moved on to the role prior to the one I'm in now, which was doors. Again, very exciting.
And now you've got carpet.
And now I've got carpet. So
door opens up.
Yeah, exactly. So that was there for a good few years, probably 7 or 8 years. That was quite a good time to work there, really, because we were penetrating new markets, and it coincided with the sort of financial crisis, and which was a nightmare at the time. But we were getting into new markets at that time, so it didn't affect us as much. We were still growing, which was quite unique of a business like that in those times. So we were selling a lot into builders merchants and also national retailers as well. So again, it was really good broad experience. A lot of that was account management, but also marketing as well, and basically making sure we had the right products. A lot of product development was quite important and drove a lot of the growth, I guess you could say.
What sort of channels are you selling doors in?
So independent retailers, there's a lot of independent door retailers who sell doors, and increasingly online was becoming a massive thing, and that posed its own challenges in terms of working on lower margins to bricks and mortars and all the challenges that go with that. So it's quite complex from a pricing perspective, and the structure of the pricing to make sure you weren't undermining your core customer base. But massive, huge, explosive growth online in that sector at the time. And again, we had to be on top of that and make sure we were in all of the different channels and being represented, I guess, as well. But also into people like Wix and people like that. So they're a big player in that market at the time. And working with them on more of an account management role, I guess you could say.
You've mentioned, obviously, the changes in the industry since you started. I guess something that Chris bangs on about quite a lot is bringing back the coverage boards. So back in the day, you used to create coverage books and coverage boards for like every client. And we did one recently for a client, and they actually really loved it. But is there anything else? Is there anything from that era that you think you did better back then than now?
Analog era, wow. So
definitely not databases that were on CD-ROM.
No.
Don't bring
No. And CRM systems were a bit flaky back in the day, weren't they, as well? So a lot of stuff I do is like product development. So it's more practical stuff, isn't it, in terms of developing new products and maybe a bit of research here and there.
What about
photography? I suppose photography evolved quite a lot in the time as well. So we used to have to do a lot of photography sets, traditional photography sets, and building sets and things like that, which used to take ages and cost a lot of money. But it's all CGI now, and that's been a huge change in terms of the photography side, I would say, because all the products I've sold probably prior to this role I'm in now have really been reliant on really good photography and lifestyle photography, so the consumer can visualize what that product's going to look like in their home. And traditional photography saw some fun and games with joiners back in the day, building sets and whatnot. So.
Yeah, that.
God, I remember photo shoots back in the day with like acetated photographs and things like that.
Oh, yes.
In the dark room.
Yeah.
You used to have to go in the dark room and they'd shout at you if you walked in, especially if you're doing a press shoot. One of the first press shoots I had to do, which I don't even know if I don't think I've told this story on the podcast. I was, they were like, because I was the exec in London, it was like, we need an actor or we need someone in a picture. And it was an eBay competitor. So there was eBay.com boom, remember? eBay, eBidder, I think there was as well. There might even be an eBidder now. And we worked on a site called Auckland, which was an American bidding eBay competitor. It was pretty big at the time. And one of the whole theory to get the visual across that it was like you could get anything anywhere on this site was they wanted to do an Aladdin's cave. Obviously, also you know what's coming down.
Great.
So they made a whole Aladdin's cave set, and I had to dress up as Aladdin all day.
Have you still got the image? Or?
I haven't actually.
No.
It went in one of the consumer glosses.
It'll be somewhere.
I don't ever want to see it ever again.
I used to use my kids on photo sets. So if they wanted like kids photography for that like lifestyle aspect, I used to use kids all the time. My own kids all the time. Cheap labour.
It was a full day's.
Oh yeah, I used to like it. It was good fun. You
were all there planning, delivering it.
It was good. It was good.
I think those. I mean, you obviously still do shoots, but there's a lot more. It's
more on location stuff, isn't it? Than nowadays on product shops. Yeah.
God, video was so expensive back in the day.
Yeah.
Compared to these days, where it's a lot cheaper. Okay, so why don't you tell us a bit about your current role then? So you currently work, obviously you're a client of ours, have been for a few years now.
Yep.
And you work for British Wool. Why don't you explain to the marketing people listening, who are British Wool and...
Sure, what we do.
Yeah, what you do.
Yeah, so we're pretty unique, actually. It's sort of a very different business than most businesses, really, which is quite exciting. So we work on behalf of farmers. So we're like a farmers cooperative, if you wish. And there used to be a lot of farmers cooperatives down the years, but we're the last remaining one. And we work on behalf of around about 30,000 farmers across the UK, and we basically sell their wool for them on their behalf. So we aggregate the wool and we hand grade it. So we basically classify all of the wool that comes through, and then we sell it into an international market. So that's one stage of what we do, and that's one of the more important stages of what we do. But we also work with brands as well. So we try and bring brands on board to use British wool because we want to drive more demand. The more demand we drive, the better price we can get for our farmers for their wool, because all our profits are returned to the farmers. So there's no faceless shareholders that we're reporting to. We're reporting to 30,000 farmers, and our board of directors is full of farmers as well. So everything we do is for the farmer. So we work with about 175 brands, downstream brands that are using British wool. And we do things like training, we do joint collaborative marketing things, as we've done with yourselves quite a few times in the last few years. And that's all about increasing awareness of British wool, but also driving that new demand for British wool as well. As I said, if we can drive that demand, we're going to increase the prices, because that demand will come through our auctions where we sell the wool.
And we're at record prices since 2018. Well, since 2018,
we are,
record prices.
We're not where we need to be. I think it's fair to say. I think the returns have been really poor. I mean, COVID decimated, as it did with a lot of markets, it just decimated the market. And it's been a long road to sort of recovery. We're not quite there because there's still a long way to go in terms of getting that farmer's price up. But we are making progress. And I think we've been through some really difficult times in terms of the market and the demand, and hopefully
globally as well.
Globally, it's a global, it's a global commodity as well. So we're competing against other global wool. I say competing, we don't, because wool's small. So in the context of the global market, wool's about 1% of all textile fibres. So it's very small. So we don't compete with other fibres, other wool fibres. But there are other fibres. So New Zealand wool, much bigger than our clip. So our price is really linked to a lot of that global commodity kind of side as well. So yeah, the global market, it's not just us. The global market has been difficult.
One of the things that fascinated me when I started working with you is like how we encourage people to buy British wool, because British wool, it's like buying British beef, right? Like encouraging people about the quality of the products. So how can somebody, if they're out there thinking, I'd love to buy, but like we've done campaigns on it, haven't we? About how people don't know that's some of the campaigns we've done. People don't know what they're wearing. No. They don't know where the product's from. No. They don't know if they're wearing, I was going to say satin, but I think you'd know if you were wearing a satin shirt.
Definitely.
Different fibres. You don't really know. Synthetic. You don't know if you're wearing like an Australian or a New Zealand wool or a British wool. How can somebody spot that if you're just a layman?
So this is one of the issues we've had, is that people, because something's made in the UK and it's made out of wool, people it must be British wool. It's not always. So we've got sort of a unique kind of label logo that we use, and it's got like a iconic crook mark, which I think was 1972 when that was created. So it's got quite a lot of legacy on that logo. So we encourage licensees. Our licensees will be our brand partners that are using British wool to actually use that logo on their products, so the consumer's seeing it. And all of our consumer outreach campaigns, which we do a considerable amount of consumer outreach, mostly with yourselves, is sort of pushing that logo as well. So people are actually looking for that logo. So they know if they're buying a product that's got that logo on, that profit, or the profit that's there, is going back to the farmer, and they're supporting rural communities really to keep on going, to keep.
And that's the message that I think, because there's a lot of messages on wool, and we've discovered it's fully sustainable.
Yeah,
it's good for the sheep to be sheared because they need to be, otherwise it's painful.
Yeah, animal welfare.
Lots of things you don't know. Only people like Jeremy Clarkson gets me watching farming shows,
and he's been great for raising that awareness of farming and raising that awareness of how difficult it is as well. It's not it's a really tough job and working ridiculous hours and
for not a lot of money.
No, exactly. And I think we should be appreciating farmers more in terms of the food they're producing. And if it costs a little bit more, it costs a little bit more. The farmer's got to make a living, and we don't appreciate it. We don't appreciate things. People don't, unfortunately. But I think with people like Clarkson bringing it to that, it's really high profile. He's done a great job at raising that awareness of farming and issues that go with it as well.
And that's been great for our campaigns as well, actually, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's brought that conversation forward.
Definitely.
But that's really helped some of the campaigns that we've done, particularly around when we've worked with farmers to kind of raise that awareness in terms of how skilled they are.
Yes.
And how valuable they actually are in the community. A lot of the sort of insight that we've referred to, and we've managed to bring it to the consumer and make it resonate more with them because of that programme and because of the fact that Jeremy Clarkson's done so much around that conversation, which has really helped us to kind of get the messaging out there. And I think one of the things with British wool is that it's great from a marketing perspective because there's so many different touch points, but also people kind of struggle to get their head around the concept of British wool and who you are, because it's quite there's quite a lot of moving parts.
It's complex. It's quite a complex organisation. It's not what you call a normal organisation. It's quite a complex. We operate across loads of different touch points, as you say, and on the supply chain, but also the consumer side as well. I think it's not just Clarkson as well. If you look at TV, mainstream TV now, there's a farming programme on every night, which again is great. You've got farmers that have turned into influencers and TV stars in their own right.
We've worked with a few, haven't we?
Yeah, which is great. I mean, we did a campaign with Farmer Will, didn't we, from Love Island a few years back, and again, it's really good, that profile and them supporting British wool and getting the British wool message out there. It really helps.
Programmes like Great British Sewing Bee. We've worked with Patrick Grant a lot. Just all of that kind of fits within the key messaging that we need to try and communicate.
Yeah. Which is sustainability, isn't it? And I think that's the message we're trying to get without sort of being too evangelical. It's getting that message out to the consumer that, they should be looking at what they're buying. But we all should be looking at what we're buying. We shouldn't be buying fast fashion. We shouldn't be buying a top that you're going to wear once and then chuck away. It ends up in landfill. And microplastics end up in the ocean. And there's more awareness. We did some research with yourselves and looking at Gen Z's attitudes towards it. And saw that longevity was coming out really high scoring. Now, whether that translates itself to the actual purchasing decision is questionable. But hopefully it will over time. And I think there's a lot can be done legislation-wise as well. So taxing Shein and all that products and the thousands of things they make and gets discarded and people don't wear it. The quality is questionable. It's a massive issue. Not just in the UK, but globally, it's a massive issue, huge issue.
Is it harder to sell British wool in? We're going to be in July next week when it's recorded.
It is in clothing, yeah, definitely.
Clothing. So,
you're not going to hang around the wool jumper in the middle of summer.
If people are thinking, well, actually, I'd like to back British farmers and I'd like to buy it, but I'm not buying a bloody jumper in July. No. What sort of other product type things can they buy that are British wool, and how do they know about that? Is it the same logo?
Yeah, same logo, and it goes into all sorts of stuff. So it goes into a really good application is sleep, so bedding, mattresses, toppers, pillows. Wool's fantastic. It regulates your body temperature, it's absolutely amazing. So I sleep, obviously, cocooned in wool. And if I am away with work, which I am quite often,
that's
it's a great phrase. It's one of our customers has sort of come up with that, and it's right. You cocoon yourself in wool.
Yeah.
If you think about if you're sleeping on polyester, on plastic, basically, you wouldn't wrap yourself in plastic and sleep. You'd be sweating, wouldn't you? So every time I go to a hotel now, they've also got cheap bedding. It's always synthetic. You just sweat all the time. It's absolutely awful. It's horrendous. Whereas with wool, you don't, because it regulates your body temperature. It does the same when you're sleeping as it does to a sheep. You know, a sheep doesn't get wet. A sheep doesn't get hot. It doesn't get cold. That fleece regulates their body temperature. And it does exactly the same when you're sleeping. And it sounds weird that wool you all think to keep you warm. So, well, I'm not going to have wool. I'm not going to sleep on wool in summer. But it regulates your body temperature. So you should be sleeping with wool. And I would say it's a cracking use. We also go a lot into carpets as well. It's a big, because of the kind of wool we've got in the UK, a lot of hill and mountain wools. It's really tough and really hearty. You can imagine the stick the sheep gets from a weather point of view with rain and cold and snow and whatnot. So it's really hearty wool. So that goes into carpets, into residential carpets, but also contract sector. So it goes into things like cruise ships, hotels, convention centres, casinos, that kind of thing. But I think probably the most iconic thing it goes into that everybody will know because they'll have sat on it, is the upholstery on the London Underground. Yeah. So that is all made in Yorkshire from British wool. And it's...
the manufacturer of that, is it?
Chimera.
Yeah. Weirdly, they were a client of ours as well.
Ah, right. Oh, really good.
We've
really
done
good
work for them.
Really good company. There's loads of British wool. And it's such a fantastic, iconic sort of usage, isn't it? Everybody's sat on a tube, haven't they, and sort of sat on British wool. And the reason they do that is because it's robust and it lasts and it's comfortable, and you don't be replacing that every 5 minutes, and it does last. It's very, very durable.
Do you think the consumer has actually made the switch to purchasing for longevity and being willing to spend more? Because I think we see so much reported on that in the news, and obviously our research does kind of lend itself to that, but do you think that is actually what's happening?
Maybe in certain areas. I think because a lot of it comes down to cost as well, and you know, we've been through sort of a cost of living crisis, and sort of we're still in that really. And the retail market's been so depressed for such a long time, and not everybody can afford it because it's not cheap. You know, it is more expensive to shop sustainably. It's more expensive in the short term, but it's more an investment. So you could buy. I've got a jacket like a Harris tweed jacket that I've had for, I don't know, about 8 years now. Looks exactly the same. You know, the kind of thing that never go out of fashion. I'll have that for the rest of my life, probably.
Buy cheap, buy twice.
Exactly. And it's always about sort of just think about your purchases, you know, think about something. If you're going to wear it once, what's the point? It's stupid, isn't it? It's daft, isn't it? It just ends up in landfill, and you know, we can only have so much landfill. And
yeah, I can't imagine there's many British wool products on Temu, is there?
No. They last forever. They really do. They do. And also, it biodegrades. So if you did have a jumper and it got to the end of its life and it was looking a bit shabby after 20, 30 years, which is probably, you know, it can last longer than that, you can bury it. And if you bury it, it actually biodegrades, which is quite a cool thing about wool. It biodegrades. But it also, if you wash it, with the Attenborough documentaries on microplastics in the oceans. Everybody knows about that now. And that comes from synthetic. I say synthetic is plastic, and it's making that distinction that synthetics doesn't sound as bad as plastic, but it's exactly the same thing as plastic. It's the same. I don't think a lot of consumers make that link or necessarily know that. But that kicks off sort of microplastics, and they all go into the ocean, and that's a lot of, along with the plastic bottles, a lot of that which is what's in the ocean. It's horrendous.
And everybody
horrendous.
wants less of that, don't they?
They do, and people say, oh, well, what can I do? And it's like, well, what you can do is not buy plastic, not buy synthetics. You can't avoid plastic, let's be honest. And we're never going to replace that because there's not enough wool globally or cotton available. So we're never going to replace it, but it's just sort of shifting the dial a little bit. So we are thinking about the environment. It's it's quite frightening what we're doing to the planet, isn't it?
Is managing, I mean, most CMOs or heads of marketing have to manage a board. You have to manage a group of farmers. Is that challenging to? Yeah, because will they understand you understand the terminology when we give you our KPIs from the stuff we're doing. Do they understand your KPIs when you're presenting to them? Is that difficult?
It can be, but again, it's sort of explaining it in. You don't want to use all the marketing lingo, and we all use. We need to cut it down and say what we're actually doing, and I think. We need to tell the farmers. It's difficult to communicate with the farmers because there's that many of them. But we've got a dedicated team, that's sort of our member engagement team, that communicating to the farmer all the time and sort of giving them the key messages about British wool, but also communicating increasingly what we are doing at that front end, because it's key that the farmers see that we are trying to create new demand. We're doing an awful lot at that front end. So yeah, it can be challenging. I think communicating to any stakeholder in a business can be challenging, can't it? But yeah, it can be challenging, but no more challenging than I would say any other organisation.
And you've changed your strategy as well. So you've now moved to direct to consumer as well. So people can buy from you online. Do you want to just talk a bit about that and how that's grown in terms of the amount of SKUs and stuff you've got on there?
Yeah, so that was really because we're doing a lot of PR campaigns and we want to direct. For the call to action is obviously to buy more products, as all marketing campaigns call to actions generally are. So we wanted to create sort of a one-stop shop that just purely sold British wool, because a lot of the people we work with, they'll have a British wool range, but they might sell other products as well. So we don't want to be pushing demand for other products. We need to push demand for British wool. So the idea was to have that shop that with purely British wool products. So it started with about 15 brands on there. I think we're up to about 33 now.
That's good.
And now our licensees. So the aim behind that is not to make money, which sounds crazy. It's to break even. And it's all about increasing brand awareness and adding value to the people that we're working with, the brands that we're working with.
What's the URL so people can find it?
It's britishwool.org.uk/shop. You can get it on our website.
In the description as well.
Yeah, and get it on our website as well. I mean, our website's massive because we've got that many different stakeholders. I think if you want to understand how complex British wool is, if you just go to our homepage and we've got about 6 different mini websites off it, and yeah, complex.
Yeah, but you're telling the story clearly. I think the sustainability and piece about it being good for the environment. It's like you're investing locally in local rural communities. That's what I like about the brand. There's no downside really to it, other than it is a little bit more pricier than buying a synthetic.
I think when we started working together, the biggest thing we struggled with was communicating with journalists on who British wool are, and there's not really a consumer-friendly way to put it, and that's probably what we struggled with to begin with. But I think I've noticed that, I'm hoping you would agree, but in terms of brand awareness, there has been a huge shift, particularly probably in the last year or so, in terms of when we are reaching out to people, they know who we are, they're using our research, they're coming to us now. Would you agree that you think in the last couple of years there's been quite a big shift, that people are much more interested in that traceability side of things as well? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you just have to look at our generic inbox for, every day we're getting inquiries from the press, inquiries to go on TV shows and stuff like that. That's increased massively over the past couple of years. And we did some brand awareness measurements as well, didn't we, in the last 12 months? And it had increased by, I think it was 7%, which is great. And we had metrics saying that I think it's 29% of people recognise our logo. That's pretty, for a company of our size, we've not got huge marketing budgets. So I think we're probably punching above our weight from that perspective. To get that kind of consumer awareness is pretty impressive, I think.
And I guess even looking at like the coverage that we've managed to secure recently, like British Vogue and the broadcast coverage as well. You just did something with Countryfile. And I think the conversation is there, isn't it? And it's just finding the right way to get British Wool involved in it. And then, so out of our campaigns, we've obviously done quite a lot over the years. Are there any in particular that you would kind of deem the most successful or the ones that you most enjoyed working on?
I think most of them have landed, haven't they, to be fair? I think it's... I think the side of the bed one was quite funny because it was quite...
That was one of the first ones.
It was one of the first ones we did, wasn't it? And it was sort of like a bit tongue-in-cheek, wasn't it? But it really did land.
The news headline was about getting out the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah. I think it was sort of like... Are you more bad-tempered on the right or the left or something like that?
We compared like left side of the bed.
Don't send that to America. You'll end up getting all sorts of political confusion.
Heavens forbid.
We got coverage in all of the nationals, didn't we?
It's fantastic. Yeah, I think the one we've got coming up for the our 75th anniversary. So this year is our 75th anniversary, and we're doing a lot of open days and a lot of sort of activation campaigns. So we're hopefully going to get some really good coverage on that. Because again, it's a really nice hook, really interesting. And there's a lot of history, and people like that provenance, they like that history. And we've got some amazing stories to share with people as well.
Yeah, all of the content that we've got for that one, I think, speaks for itself. So it'll be exciting to see how it lands. Yeah. But we've now kind of built like a network of people as well, haven't we, in terms of influencers and celebrities that really back the brand. So that's quite nice to be able to lean on people like that for this 75th anniversary.
And Shaun the Sheep.
And Shaun the Sheep.
I mean, what an amazing...
A perfect hookup. I mean...
Yeah.
So we
wanted to get him on BBC Breakfast, but we can't figure out how to get him.
He doesn't talk, so...
Well, they got Peppa Pig on ITV.
I know.
But she was... Well, not Peppa, it was her mum, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just a whole...
We did a whole podcast on that. Make sure you get back to that. It's fascinating.
It doesn't sit well with me.
No. Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was very weird, which is why we did a podcast on it.
The Shaun the Sheep thing for us, though, it's got such massive reach. And I think when we were talking to Hardman, who manages Shaun the Sheep, looking at their sort of target audience, and instinctively you think kids, but it's not just kids. It's all the parents that have grown up with it and have got a really positive connotations of Shaun the Sheep. And so they're the sort of consumers for wool nowadays as well. So it's a really positive thing. And they're celebrating their 30th anniversary this year as well, at the same time as our 75th, which is perfect. So we are looking at doing a few things. We're looking at some kind of charity Christmas jumper that we're working on at the moment. So there's quite a lot of things in the pipeline, and we've done it. We did a carpet activation thing, which is going really well. That's in a lot of carpet retailers across the UK. One thing it has helped us do is get that reach on social media. So we're looking the other day at sort of the aggregated views of the content, and it's well over 500,000, and that's only from 3 different pieces of content. Massive.
One thing I would say about social media is if you've never checked out anything to do with British Wool, check out Sheep of the Week.
Oh yes, Sheep of the Week. It's iconic. It's iconic. Yeah, and dare we be late or miss it?
People love it, don't they?
They do. It's
content.
Yeah, we've had that for years. I mean, that was in place when I started, I think 8 years ago, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And as I said, if we miss a week, we're in trouble.
We started doing Sheep of the Year as well.
Sheep of the Year, yeah. Which is.
Weren't you thinking about doing a calendar at one point?
We were. I think that's going to be next year now. I think
demand would be high.
I think we've got that many things on. I think it would be. Yeah, we could do well on that.
So we've got a couple of mistakes to talk about before we.
I mean, a couple's not bad in nearly 30 years, is it? So
everybody's made mistakes, apart from somebody that I invited on the show about 3 months ago. And they said they've never made a mistake. I was like, that's not true.
Yeah. They're just setting themselves up for a massive mistake there.
Yeah, they are. Oh, of course they are. Maybe they'll drop me a message a bit later. So, why don't you tell us the story about your high-quality brochures you produced?
Yeah, they're amazing, really glossy and top-end and beautiful photography. Spent an absolute arm and a leg on it.
What year was this?
Oh, goodness, this will be 20 years ago, I bet. Yeah, it'll be 20 years ago.
So back in the day of...
When brochures were massive, weren't they? Brochures were the main form of communicating, particularly B2B as well.
Before websites,
back in the day.
Yeah, that's what replaced brochures, isn't it? Websites,
yeah.
Brochures.
Yeah.
Because you used to get a company, if you're interested in them, they used to send you the company brochure.
Yep. And it was stress. It was always stressful. It was all stressful printing it, wasn't it? And
You still get that in some industries, like kitchens.
Yeah. Well, you need to.
yeah, it's tactile, isn't it? Tactile products. So yeah, we did this. I think it was about 50,000 catalogues, high quality, high gloss, cost an absolute fortune. And unfortunately, we put some old lady's phone number on the back of it, and not our phone number.
How the hell did that happen?
I have no idea. It was a one digit out, and it was no, the amount of phone and this. Poor old lady getting all these phone calls, and we had to employ a team of about half a dozen temps to come in and overstick it.
Was the typo you?
Well, not me personally, but the team I was working in, obviously. I must admit, though, ever since
How many boxes is 50,000 brochures?
Oh God,
is this a stock room full of brochures?
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot of brochures. Yeah, it took them a long time to overstick them, but it was cheaper than getting them all reprinted. It's just that feeling of. It's just gut-wrenching feeling when you realise what's happening. It's like, oh my God. And then you look at it, it's like, it is wrong. How on earth have we missed that?
How many phone numbers did she get? How many phone calls did she get to?
She phoned us within 48 hours. I think she'd had about 20 phone calls. She wasn't best happy. And the sunset.
It would keep going because nothing, once they're out there, you can't, in them days, you couldn't do it like now. You could change the web page.
Yeah, you can do it.
You've already handed out 1,000. You've got 1,000 people. Potentially, you're still going to ring it for them.
I bet this is a mistake that most marketing people have made. In some way or shape or form.
Well, we interviewed another. Weirdly, we've only had a few clients on here. You're one of 3, I think. And if you want to hear about a typo, and in one of her first roles, Rachel for Huthwaite, she was doing a big exhibition down in Excel, and they did a £60,000 worth of right in the centre of Excel. It was one of the biggest things, and they'd done it. And she worked for a big software as a service company, and it said software. Right, in massive letters all across, and it wasn't just on one side; it was on
everywhere,
each side. And they were there for this was in the first hour that one of her team told her, and we were like, "Well, what did you do? Did you like?"
It's like a 3-day exhibition.
Yeah,
so you just had to be anxious for the next 3 days.
Can you imagine how did you sleep?
Awful.
I mean,
because you don't do when you've done something daft like that. Because it is easy to do, and you can't. If you proofread a brochure, you can't see the wood from the trees sometimes, can you? And you can read the same mistake 50 times, you still ain't gonna spot it. I think ever since I've done that, I've been so paranoid about printing stuff. I think even to the extent that back in the day, when a bit younger, I used to proofread stuff on press for colours and stuff like that because it was quite colour critical. Even phoning that phone number from the press just to 100% make sure it wasn't the mistake we were going to make again. It does make you a bit paranoid.
I mean, yeah, we've all made typos and press releases and all sorts of things. Okay, and the second one of your 2 mistakes you've got when you did a mail merge. I'm not going to lie. I've got probably 10 mail merge errors where it's merged the wrong. So it'd say like
mail merge.
That's your first marketing mistake. What's a mail merge?
Yeah.
Seriously. So like, oh my God, Gen Z's looking at me as well.
Taking it from Excel and putting it in Word basically as in a letter format.
Oh right.
So for instance, if let's say you've got 1,000 people in a database, and you want to send an email one email to 1,000 people. Back in the day, you might even for those of your older listeners might remember when you used to have to do a mail merge for the labels.
Oh yeah.
You produce them, and it would do the labels for the posting. So the idea is that you could connect Word or Outlook to Excel, and it would look for way, and then it says hi Sinead, but everyone's done it wrong where it says hi British Wool by accident. Do you know what I mean? You might tick the wrong box or
delete a column by accident, or delete one bit.
What did you do?
I think I don't know what I'd done in Excel, but it had misaligned all the names and the company names, so we'd sent it out to all like massive customers.
How many customers are we talking?
It's probably. I'll be 2,500, I would have thought, off the top of my head. So quite a lot. It was a decent whack of people. And all the names are wrong. And they knew who the competitors were. So they were getting with the competitor's name on it, but their company name on it. Awful.
Well, you had the competitor's name in your email?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't an email, was it? It was a printed one. So it would say, say you're my competitor, it would say, Dear Chris, from British Wool, and it was like, and the new other competitors were, we got some right irate phone calls from customers. You don't even know our name.
I'm still confused. You sent a letter from. Do you understand that?
So you sent a letter and it had so it would be like their first name, but then
we'd added their full name, but the competitors,
details. Was there like details in there that you shouldn't have sent?
No, it was just an address. There was no it was a generic kind of communication. There's nothing nothing confidential in there. But nevertheless,
everyone's
queue phone calls, and I just died when I found it, because that literally was my mistake. That is the one I will fess up to. I had nobody else to blame for that one, and but again, we didn't have ChatGPT, we didn't have Google to Google how to do a mail merge. I just you had to figure stuff out back in the day. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
with that, like when you did stuff wrong, like now, like people, even 5 years ago, before AI, you had some sort of problem with Meta, or if we're talking recent social media, you could kind of Google it, find a site, then look through the forums, find the answer.
Yeah.
But even before now AI just gives you the answer straight off the bat.
Miles easy, isn't it?
But back then it was like, I've screwed this up. This is broken. Yeah. What do I do? There was no YouTube.
No YouTube. No.
God, I wouldn't be able to get through the day.
No.
Without being able to
just figure shit out.
Yeah, it was good. It was it was good.
There wasn't more mistakes.
Well, I'm sure there was.
There was. He's probably pushed them aside.
Yeah, we haven't got all day.
How do you feel that consumer perception has changed over the time that we've worked together?
I think it's increased, doesn't it? I think, from looking at the brand awareness metrics that we use, which is obviously one of our core KPIs, prior to sort of working with yourselves, we were getting our licensing scheme sorted first. So the brands, making sure we were working with the right brands who were actually using British Wool and not other brands, which sounds quite basic, but that was a massive job in itself, and setting a scheme up that basically tracked that wool usage through the supply chain.
To be a licensee, is there a minimum amount of wool you have to use in a product? 50%.
So it has to be minimum 50, because a lot of stuff does get blended. So we have to be practical and commercial on it. So it's 50%. But if you look at most jumpers and things like that, with British Wool don't get blended. They do tend to be 100%. And bedding as well tends to be 100% British Wool. It tends to be the carpets and things like that that get blended for cost reasons more than anything else. So we needed to get that sorted first, because otherwise we'd be pushing consumers to products that maybe didn't have the right levels of British Wool, which is a waste of time. So once we got that sorted out, then the proper consumer outreach started when we started working with you yourselves. I think was it 4 years ago now? 3 or 4 years ago. And it's increased massively. I mean, the amount of coverage we've had in the main, the top titles in terms of what our kind of target audience are looking at, but also regional press coverage as well. I think some of the stuff we've done on regional radio.
Yeah.
So it's quite an old-fashioned medium, but it's really effective because people listen to regional stuff, and you in the car, it's a captive audience, isn't it? You can't escape it. You can't, people aren't knocking it off. And I think that's really quite strong, and something that maybe people neglect nowadays. It's all about social media, but I think those kind of traditional channels are really quite important still as well, particularly when we're targeting a typical target audience for us will be probably 40 plus.
Yeah.
A bit more disposable income. And I think they are more attuned to those kind of channels as well as social media, obviously.
So how can people find you, Graham, if they want to get in contact with you after hearing this and thinking, God, I'd like to use British Wool? How can they get hold of you?
Me personally?
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Just Graham Clark, LinkedIn?
Yeah, Graham Clark, British Wool, LinkedIn, yeah.
And what's the British Wool website so they can find it?
It's britishwool.org.uk.
Okay, cool. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
cheers.
Good.